Hello there and welcome to another episode of World of Tanks with Ungainly Titan. We're here on Redshire and I'm once again in the Su-152, the Tier 7 Russian tank destroyer. We're on the southern spawn, which causes a bit of a problem because the Su-152 isn't blessed with much in the line of accuracy. The kind of standard southern tank destroyer spot for tank destroyers with poor armour is generally here beside me, up here on the hill, in among the farmhouses. It gives you good command of the central ridge, in fact of all the ridges. Gives you command of tanks that escape through, if they win, the enemy tanks win the heavy tank corridor on the zero line, and it also allows you to cover the base. However, Su-152 probably not ideal. But I'm going to park up here while I try and figure out what the best thing to do is. Ideally with this tank from this position I'd be looking for a spot on the central ridge there at the edge of it, so that I could pick off tanks that would be to the north of me, and preferably without exposing myself to too many of their friends and allies. However, our force is going very strongly towards the zero line. Practically 3/4 or 2/3 of our tanks have gone that way, leaving the centre completely exposed, and there's a couple of tanks going west. And I'm not a bit happy about it, because the biggest problem with this deployment is, aside from the fact that generally, in my opinion, you can't achieve much in the extreme west, at least not in the early game. It's useful to stop the enemy from attacking, but counter-attack out of it while the central ridge is still held is usually not on the cards. And with nobody contesting the central ridge, the enemy are free to spot from those locations, and from that location they can spot pretty much the entire map. So I've decided I'm going to go down and move towards the central ridge. I'm no intention at the moment of actually peeking out over the top of it or anything like that. I want to support the heavy tank to the west, and I want to contest the central ridge, so that if anybody comes over the ridge line, A, I'm close enough to spot them, and B, close enough to shoot at them, and gives opportunity for tanks behind me, particularly that tank destroyer there down on K2, the opportunity to actually engage these targets as well. So there's a T-34-3 after popping up here on the central ridge line, which is exactly the kind of thing I was afraid of. A large force of tanks coming through the central ridge line at this point of the game would have been pretty much game over for our team, because they would have just swept over the top, taken me out, and they could then engage the tanks to the west, isolated, and then wrap up the whole team. But it didn't work out that way. It was quite fortunate for us, really. We are probably about to win the eastern side of the map, though. So I'm basically parked up here. The idea is to try and deter that T-34 from crossing over the top. And the next thing he appears in the middle of the field, he's gone down to challenge head-to-head the heavy tank down the corner. Really bad decision on his part. Doesn't actually serve any useful purpose for his team. That heavy tank isn't actually going anywhere. And pitting a medium tank head-to-head frontally against a heavy tank is just a poor decision, because you're fighting the heavy tank on the heavy tank's favoured ground. You know, limited manoeuvre, frontal head-on, and the heavy tank has the armour to handle that kind of stuff, and the hit point pool. So he's not going to win that fight, even if nobody else was involved, and there are other tanks around to support our guy. Now we've continued the thrust up the eastern side has continued down into the edge of the valley there, but they've made a mistake. They shouldn't come around through that gap. More of the tanks should have split off onto the centre of the ridgeline, both to spot whoever's on the ridgeline and just to spread the fire, so that the tanks that are being spotted now, just to the north of me, so they basically have to come out further onto the ridgeline and come out and fighting dispersed targets, so that Makes it easier for tanks up here like mine, and for artillery and for other tanks to take them out, and it makes our tanks less of a target. So while we're ahead, we're not ahead by much, and the enemy are keeping in touch. In fact, the bigger enemy losses were here on the western side of the map that were kind of unnecessary. Losses that they need not have occurred, except enemy tanks just allow themselves to become isolated. So, don't quite manage to finish off that tank there, and I'm taking some return fire, so I need to get back off the ridgeline again. Reload is fairly slow on this tank as well, so I need to keep out of sight while I'm reloading. Now, the large force of tanks that we had up there at B8, B7 is now down to basically one tank. So the enemy have actually managed to blunt that thrust. So despite the fact that we had the bulk of our forces on that side of the map, we actually haven't made huge gains as a result of it. And we're only one tank up at the moment. Now I make this mistake here of getting a little impatient, just pushing that bit too far forward. Now I'm well past the crest. So when that tiger starts firing at me, I get the shot off, but I don't get... I'm exposed to multiple shots in return before I get back into cover. And the tiger takes advantage of it. However, he's taking fire from allies, and he backs up that little too far, and he's clear of the cover from me. Even though he can't see me, I can see him because he's spotted, and I'm able to take him out. It's something to be wary of when you're working these ridge lines. Just because you're clear of one set of enemies doesn't mean that you're necessarily clear of all of them. And just because you can't see somebody doesn't mean that he hasn't got a line of sight on your position. This is definitely one of the maps where Sixth Sense really comes into its own. But even then, you have to be very careful about how you retreat and how you work the ridge lines. Now, I thought I could catch a glimpse of that Panther pushing in there in the middle, but the buildings were in the way, and he hasn't gone the way I expected him to go. In fact, we've completely lost contact with him. So I want to get in here because I've more options in terms of hard cover, where to hide. And then the two medium tanks are spotted actually heading back up the old heavy tank route, making a counterattack. So, and I'm too late. By the time I spotted them and reacted to them, the T-95E2 has gotten in. And I presume the Panther 88's up there somewhere as well. So, I'm also wary of the fact that there's at least one tank down there. There's a Tiger 1, or it's a Hammer after appearing. And there's probably another tank down there as well. And we've lost the tank destroyer that was over there on the central ridge line, and we're still only barely ahead.
Focus on this location.
So the Panther 88 has shown up, and it's engaging with the T-20 now.
Using the optics, Commander.
The T-20 is wisely making a run for it, and hopefully he will draw the Panther 88 in my direction. This is what I was hoping for anyway, that and I get a glimpse of him, but the Panther 88 is at the limit of my view range, and I don't spot him when he comes around the corner. I open fire here, but I hit a building on the way down, and that's ineffective, so I'm waiting for the reload. And I don't think I'm going to make it. He's unspotted again already, and actually he's reacquired, but now he's hull down. Managed to get a splash damage on the gun mantle. We're still a tank ahead, but there's still two tanks there in the centre, and they've been holding their own. They've been doing very, very well. One of them is actually that VK that I left on a sliver of health earlier on, and the fact that he's still alive suggests that he was a reasonably good player. Now, we have a heavy tank and a tank destroyer moving up with them, but I think the tank destroyer is not in the best position, and we've just lost the heavy tanks. So now, so we've a Rheinmetall Borsig up there. The Panther has just popped up on my right, going for the artillery. The artillery has decided to face him off, and the T-20 is nowhere to be seen. It would have been far more useful if the T-20 had stayed back a bit further and assisted the artillery and myself, because now I'm relying on my ability to spot the Panther, and I'd much rather the T-20 doing the spotting. We spot each other more or less simultaneously, but I have my gun pointed the right way, so I get the shot off. He actually bounces it off the top of my tank or someplace. And the Rheinmetall Borsig also managed to get a shot in. And now I'm going to move out of here because I want the artillery was in play. I was very fortunate to bounce that shot from the hammer.
They've spotted us.
I had just managed to turn at the right moment. And I'm trying to get up close to the hammer to give myself and the Borsig a chance. The Borsig's just been taken out. So, and the T-20 is too far away. T-20 has 2 kills. He's a reasonably decent player. He can handle his tank, but he doesn't seem to show a lot of tactical sense really. He's far too far away now. We can't support each other. And if that hammer charges out, I'm basically doomed. I will get one chance to shoot him. And if that doesn't connect, he will probably be able to drive around me, especially with the hill behind him, faster than I can turn the tank. And of course I don't know whether he's still in front of me or not, so I'm hoping the T-20 will come up to me. If the two of us came up together, we could both round this rock more or less simultaneously, and the Tiger could only take out one of us. In fact, I'm the only one he can really take out. I think the T-20 probably has enough hit points to survive one shot from the hammer. Now the T-20 require a couple of shots, probably take the hammer out, maybe 3 at least. But I can do it in 1. But he can do me in 1 as well, so it's bit of a calculational thing there, and I'm kind of watching this ridgeline because definitely I don't dare cross it. I have the longer aim time, worse gun depression, and the worst mobility in a close quarter fight. However, the T-20 is now driving away again, off into the corner, where he is of no use to me. So now I've left the decision: do I keep watching this corner? The hammer has form for popping up around here, and I'm pretty sure I suppose the hammer, the last known location from the hammer's point of view of the T-20 was over on the eastern side of the map, so there's no reason to suppose that he's around here. So it's also possible that the hammer is sneaking around me on the western side, though I was actually expecting him to come around the other way. However, the T-20 spots the hammer, and there's no sign the hammer has spotted the T-20. So I've been driving forward to get the turning in, but I decided not to drive any further forward, and I don't want to pull too far over because I didn't know exactly where he was going to come out. Fortunate enough there to get the shot off. Well, I had a better chance of getting the shot off. The hammer didn't have his turret turned the right way. So, but still, you know, 0.5 accuracy. I was fortunate enough to hit. That was a beautiful shot from the GW Panther. Almost took me out of the game completely. But we know where he was, or at least I know where he was when he fired that shot, which is up here in the northwestern side of the map. Now all I need is for the T-20 to actually support me coming around. If both of us come at the GW Panther simultaneously, the same logic applies. He can only shoot one of us, and with artillery he'll have a very long reload time, so the other one will have plenty of time to take him out. And we're also running out of time. If we don't win by taking out the artillery, we're probably not going to win. And there he is. He's made a run for it. It was quite a sneaky move, and he almost pulled it off. I'd say I was just to the limit of my spotting range there. So I'm going to come in, but not directly. But the GW Panther fires at the T-20. So now I know he doesn't have any shot in the breach, but I don't have a lot of time left, so I get the shot off, finish him off, and it's game over,
Up another win.
and we have a win. So how do we do? That was a pretty tense battle, I remember feeling it at the time. So, 3,485 damage, 3,000 assisted damage. Quite a lot of that was actually tracked damage, and I get an ace tanker, and my first mark of excellence on this tank. So that wasn't a bad day's work. Reckon I came first by experience from the operational boosts, and yes, we came first by experience. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you again soon.